Okay, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 24, Worshipping Govardhan Hill. Text 19. Ajivyaktaram Ajivyakataram bhavam yastvanyam upajivati na tasmad vindate kshemam jaranari asatyataha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, by the disciples of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? Krishna says, we would be like an unfaithful woman or a man, right, who can never achieve any actual benefit by consorting with her or his paramour. Okay, purport. The word kshemam means actual prosperity. The word ksheman means actual prosperity, not merely the accumulation of money. Here, Lord Krishna boldly argues that just as a woman or a man can never achieve actual dignity or enlightenment from an illicit lover, the residents of Vrindavan will never be happy by neglecting the real source of their prosperity and worshiping Lord Indra instead. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the audacity that child Krishna displayed here before his father and other elders should be understood as an exhibition of transcendental anger, aroused when he saw his eternal devotees worshiping an insignificant demigod. Hare Krishna. Wonderful. Krishna conscious, straightforward verse, nice purport. Gaura Sharan Prabhu, would you like to jump in?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you so much for reading. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Nara Uttamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nitinamine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshatarine. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So again, reading the translation of verse 19, chapter 24 of Canto 10, Worshipping Govardhan Hill. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? we would be like an unfaithful woman who can never achieve any actual benefit by consorting with a paramour. So, this particular verse is in continuation of Krishna speaking to the Vrajvasis, headed by Nanda Maharaj, about the unnecessity of worshipping Indra and the need or the importance of actually worshipping Govardhan will come up eventually. But currently, he is establishing how that they don't need to unnecessarily worship Indra. So he is like kind of deriding the worship of Indra that they are performing with various arguments, utilizing the karma mimamsa philosophy. And you can imagine like a 7-year-old is speaking about unfaithful women consorting with paramour. So I don't know how did all the elders take it. But here he is making a very, very pertinent point. If one thing is actually sustaining our life, but we take shelter of something else, how can we achieve any real benefit? So there is this beautiful verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Lokamsha lokanugatam pashumsha hitvat shitasya charanat patram. So it means like the sages are saying how lokamsha lokanugatam pasumsha, that one person or especially a devotee, they have given up worldly things. Lokams, they have given up the worldly affairs. They have also given up the beastly followers of such worldly affairs. Bhagavatam is using a strong word here. Lokamsha loka anugatam pashumsha. So they're saying all the people who can just follow all the worldly affairs, they call them as beasts. So how many followers you have on Instagram, for any social media platform? If it's not for a devotional purpose, they are all like the beastly followers of each other. So lokamsha lokanupana gatam pashumsha hitva shritaste charanat patram. The devotee has given up all those things. They have given up the worldly affairs, and they are also trying to give they are also distance themselves from the followers of such worldly affairs. At least internally, for sure, they have lost taste for that. So when they have given up, what they should do, hitva shritaste charanat patram, they have to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. So the devotees who have rejected the worldly affairs and have taken shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna, how do they take shelter? Parasparam tvad gunavada sidhu, means they take shelter by speaking to each other about Krishna. Parasparam tvad gunavada sidhu, and speaking about the qualities of Krishna here is called a sidhu, nectar. Piyusha niryapita deha dharma, by drinking that nectar of Krishna's qualities, discussing about Krishna's pastimes in the association with each other, parasparam, not just personally reading, but also discussing with each other. So, parasparam tvad gunavada sidhu piyusha niryapita deha dharma. One can actually become freed from the deha dharma. There are so many kinds of dharma. Yesterday, there was this discussion about different dharmas in the Bhagavatam class towards the end. So there is one important dharma every conditioned soul is addicted to, is deha dharma. That is the biggest obstacle for executing our real dharma. Sanatan dharma, the dharma of the soul and the spirit soul is to make its connection with the Supreme Lord. That yoga does not happen because there is deha dharma which is overpowering us, which is distracting us. So if we want to rise above that deha dharma and perform actually real dharma towards Krishna, if we want to swadharma, like the paro dharma, if we want to actually practice the paro dharma, savai pumsam paro dharmo yatho bhakti radokshaje ahai tuki apratihata atma suprasidati. So if we want to have satisfaction of the soul, if we want to perform that paro dharma, then one has to rise above deha dharma. How does it happen? We don't need to do anything. We just have to take shelter of Krishna in the association of devotees and share about Krishna amongst each other in a conscious way. Then, piyusha niryapita deha dharma. Then we become like completely relieved of the forces of the material nature. that force us to take shelter of the body and the bodily demands. The primary needs of the body may be satisfied, but most of the time we all are caught up not just in the primary needs of the body. We try to find satisfaction and happiness and gratification through the body and its senses. So that can be overcome only by discussing about Krishna. So here also it is said, if one thing is actually sustaining our life, what is actually sustaining my life? Especially in the spiritual life, if we think about it, what is that which really sustains my spiritual life? So do I actually give enough time for that? So if chanting of the holy names is the most important spiritual process for this age of Kali Yuga, how much do I actually prioritize the chanting in my own personal life? Even when I'm chanting, how much I'm able to apply my attention to it. So we always glorify speaking about Krishna in a class. We always glorify hearing about Krishna and chanting Krishna's name and being in the association and what to do in the association. But once the class ends, then we go back to our own ways. We start prioritizing many other things. It's not that there are many, it's not that we should not do anything other than the core devotional service. We may not be able to do 24 hours, but do we actually prioritize when it needs to be done? If it's the morning time, what am I prioritizing? Am I like looking at the social media as soon as I wake up? Okay, who and all pinged me on Instagram? Like what is going on in the world? Is that the first thing I try? Or I try to see, okay, this is early morning. Let me actually chant my rounds with attention. So that like before we enter the duties that we need to perform for the sake of maintaining a body and living in this world, if we actually understand what is sustaining my life is just my connection with Krishna. So do I make that priority to early in the morning take shelter of that process? Otherwise, how can we achieve any real benefit? It's very difficult to make progress in the spiritual life. So it's not fun after a while to be a Kanishta, just struggling in devotion service with the mind and the senses, and then filled with offenses, and mind is always like very, very bitter, angry. It's no fun actually to practice spiritual life like that. So we need to go to a place where we can actually happily attracted towards Krishna. We are so attracted to Krishna that he's pulling us. We don't need to actually go towards him. It's just that attraction is just pulling us, that we cannot but actually engage in devotional service. So it will be much more easy. It is like now it's like going against the pull of gravity. However, we can actually align ourselves totally with Krishna. The more we actually make it a priority and sincerely endeavor, then it's not that Krishna is a masochistic God. He is not like, okay, I want you to suffer, I won't give you the taste. No, if we actually endeavor and fully apply ourselves, the taste for Krishna consciousness will come. The externals may be comfortable, may not be comfortable. That is not guaranteed. But what is guaranteed is actually our attraction towards Krishna will increase. Cheto darpanam arjunam bhava mahadavagni nirvapanam. So the cessation of material misery will happen. At least in the heart, we will not be attached to that. Will not be affected by that. So and then Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. All the flower, the lotus of good fortune will actually blossom. Our consciousness will open. Like how we have these flowers, the rose buds here. They're not like fully open sometimes, but they're just like completely closed. Then we cannot experience the fragrance of the bud. But when the bud actually opens, even a little bit, you can experience some fragrance. So our consciousness in a very, very like a budding stage initially, but through the process of chanting, if we open it even a little, even if a little it opens, wow, it's so much more better to practice spiritual life. So once we get a little glimpse of that, then we work hard to actually make it blossom. You cannot forcefully open a flower. It does not look the same way as it blossoms. Sometimes we have these carnation buds. They're like sometimes like 3, 4. They're like half they are not fully blossomed. So then you kind of open it so that they kind of can be used. But it does not look the same way beautifully when a flower naturally actually blossoms. So all these other processes of yoga is like trying to open the bud of the consciousness. It's not possible to fully open that like that by a manual process. But chanting about Krishna, chanting Krishna's holy name, hearing about Krishna, engaging in devotional service is like watering the root. Like we all have this famous analogy, heard about this in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives. He says this Bhakti Lata Bij is watered through hearing and chanting. So when that watering happens, then naturally there is flower, and then the flower blossoms, and then there is fruit, and then it ripens also. So that is the goal of life. So the goal of life is to actually awaken our spiritual love for Krishna. Everything else is external to the spirit soul. So the purpose of engaging in devotional service is nothing other than actually giving pleasure to Krishna and achieving love of God. So Srila Prabhupada was asked in one temple when he was visiting that what is that service which really, really pleases you, Srila Prabhupada? And that's the time when devotees were feverishly distributing books. And it's the kind of the activity which is the most glorified, which is the most widely accepted by everyone, widely acclaimed by everyone. There is no doubt if you're distributing books, you are making spiritual advancement. So but the problem is when an organization has to function, there are many people who has to support that by doing various things. You don't always get to do the most acclaimed thing. If you're in an organization, you may have to just sweep the floor and clean things and then upkeep the organization in various ways in order so that some others can actually go and do that, the most important thing. But the nature of conditioned mind is like everyone thinks they are the best, what they do is the best, and they are actually pleasing, others are pleasing Krishna, but they think they are pleasing Krishna more than others. So that false ego of the conditioned soul actually makes it think I'm very special. And a one who's sweeping the floor is also thinking he is pleasing Krishna because he is doing a humble service. If they are not pure enough, so they are also thinking, oh, see, I'm being so humble, I'm sweeping the floor. And the one who's distributing books is thinking, what's the use of the real thing is like going and reaching out to the conditioned souls, Jivadaya. The other person, maybe he is like interested in chanting. He is thinking, oh, the real thing is actually chanting the holy name. The pujari is thinking, you guys are all like doing many things, but here I am watering the root. I'm directly taking care of the Supreme Lord. I'm feeding him. You don't get prasad if there is no offering here. The cook is thinking, oh, if I don't cook, you will all distribute. But what happens when like 3 times a day, you remember food? And I'm providing you with all that. And the pujari is thinking, you're only bringing boga, but I'm making it prasad by offering it to Krishna. So everybody is thinking they are the only ones who's like doing the most important thing. However, what makes it Sankirtan is that everyone has to come together. Imagine if everyone leads the kirtan in a party. There's no one to play mirdang, kartala or follow. Everybody thinks I am the lead singer. So it'll not be that pleasant if everyone comes together and one person sings and the other person plays kartal, the other person plays mirdanga. Sometimes the players mirdanga, kartal, they don't get to sing the way they could. They may have to sometimes focus on the instrument and the beat and all that. They may not be able to sometimes sing if they are not super experienced and absorbed. It's an austerity for them to actually sometimes do. Hands are paining. Like others are in ecstasy, dancing in a kirtan, jumping up and down. And the mirdanga player is like been playing for so long. There's like blood coming from their fingers sometimes. I've personally seen people having cracks and blood drops coming from that. So, and sometimes the lead singer, he's losing breath just by leading, but he's giving pleasure to everyone. He's giving pleasure to Krishna. He's giving pleasure to devotees. He has uplifted the whole atmosphere by doing that service and austerity. Like leading kirtan for 4 hours. It's ecstatic on a spiritual level. On a physical level, it's an austerity. So The same applies to one's life also. Each person may maintain their life in various ways. There is no one cookie cutter solution for everyone to maintain their lives. The idea is how we are going close to Krishna. If you see Chaitanya Leela, not all the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are like renunciants. Most of them are actually householders. And not most of them were like only doing business, or they were only doing things which are like so spiritually straight connection to spiritual service. Mukunda Datta, he was the physician of the Muslim king, the emperor, the ruler of the thing. With all respect, no Muslim king is going to be a vegetarian. That's the most polite way I can put it. So they are usually the plunderers, the rapists, the most atrocious kind of human beings you will see. However, it's not necessarily all kings were like that. This person was living in that area and maintaining, but still, surely it's not going to be that everything is going to be so appropriate with a Muslim king, a ruler. However, Mukunda Datta was a personal and a physician of the king. And he wasn't preaching to the king. When he saw the peacock feather that was being used to fan the king, he got into ecstasy and he fell from the platform where he was speaking to the king. And the king was so shocked that this guy suddenly he just fell unconscious and he's in a very different state. And they revived him. And finally, when he was asked by the king, Mukunda Datta did not go on like saying, "You fool, you are like suffering in material existence. What do you think life is? Krishna consciousness is." He didn't say anything. He just said, "I have epilepsy." Here he is experiencing the highest pleasure, highest manifesting the highest love for Krishna. Just by seeing a peacock feather, he remembered Krishna and he lost himself. He lost his consciousness. And he is not saying anything to the king. So do we condemn Mukunda? You're an ass working for a Muslim king? No. It's not the same in every situation with every person. With everyone's life is different. But it did not stop Mukunda Datta from experiencing highest love for Krishna just because he was serving a Malaysia king, a meat eater. It did not. So, to a large extent, the work that we do in this world is very external to our spirit soul. Bhakti is ahaituki apratihata. It cannot be stopped by external circumstances. So if somebody has to do a job for the sake of maintaining their family and whatever duties they have immediately, the more one is spiritually focused, things don't come in your way. Rather, they will actually help you remember Krishna more and more. So it's a big topic. These are not topics to be clarified in a Bhagavatam class. So that shows that the association actually lacks mature guidance in their personal life. There is Diksha, there is Siksha, and there is also in a public platform like Bhagavatam classes to actually speak about Krishna, directly nourish each other, and all these specific details of one's life that needs to be taken off the common platform and discussed individually with a devotee whom you have trust and faith, who knows your life, who knows your inclinations, who knows your ability to actually function in this world and out of this world, how much you can rise above bodily dharma, how you can become, how much transcendental you are in your conviction and Krishna conscious. Only a spiritual master, either Siksha or Diksha, who can actually assess you as a candidate and actually guide you according to. It's like taking a prescription. You don't go to YouTube and search for your diagnosis of your disease. You go to a doctor. You have a personal diagnosis. The pharmacist is having all kinds of medicines. You don't go and choose what medicine you like. It's not that the activity which is pleasing to you is dharma, or the activity which is not pleasing to you dharma. The medicine can be bitter, the medicine can be sweet. That does not actually decide anything. Oh, is the bitter medicine good or is the sweet medicine good? That's not the nature. That's not the purpose of taking medicine. Medicine is to cure our disease. The disease is in general ignorance, but we do have a flavor of ignorance. Someone is addicted to lust. Somebody is overcome by anger. Somebody is addicted to greed. Somebody is influenced by so many other layers of passion and ignorance. So the general platform like a Bhagavatam class is to discuss about Krishna, nourish us, and state the generic principles of spiritual life. What is the important thing? Set the North Pole very clear. Krishna is my goal of life. Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramaka, Vasudeva Paraveda. Vasudev, the son of Vasudev, Krishna, is the goal of my life in all aspects of my life. That is what is being reinforced every morning here. Discuss about Krishna. What does he do in his daily life? What does he engage? Like, discuss about the details of the pastime. And the other things like our struggles with senses, all those things, we need to also actually go take personal guidance. Yes, in the course of speaking, some points will inspire us to overcome our lower nature. So anartha nivritti is not the goal. So we cannot just stop just saying, oh, so much struggle is there against Maya, so much struggle is there against Maya, and never focus on the real thing, which is taking shelter of Krishna by actually discussing about Krishna. There is always lecture after lecture, glories of hearing about Krishna, but we never hear about Krishna directly. So both needs to be balanced. So the practical execution of devotional service, at the same time, just hearing about Krishna is also the main essence of devotional service in itself. It's not different from the execution of devotional service. After I speak for half an hour about the glories of Krishna, or like in Govardhan Leela, how Krishna is enjoying the flavors with so many devotees, someone says, how can I practically apply this life? Boy, this is a practical application of Srimad Bhagavatam. You and me are supposed to absorb our minds in Krishna's life. Our life is important, but please rise above your own immediate life and absorb your mind in Krishna also. It's not impractical. It's not theoretical. That's what pleases your soul. That is your eternal dharma. So balance it both. Focus your attention in trying to convince yourself with the spiritual philosophy that how material life is miserable. It needs to be actually transcended. Understand that at the same time, engage in direct spiritual life also. It's one thing to be desiring to be Krishna conscious, and it's another thing to be Krishna conscious. So both needs to be understood and balanced in our daily life. So there are certain things that needs to be taken in a public platform, but there are certain things you won't get the strength to apply in your life just by hearing from someone randomly. You need to go, submit, surrender, ask humbly, open your heart, show your wounds, show your dirty heart to someone, some senior whom you have trust and faith. When they actually tell you, just the fact that you open your heart to someone who's trustworthy, and you humble yourself, that's when Krishna gives us the strength to actually apply things in our lives. So without having personal surrender, spiritual life does not work. It's not like 100 days you achieve love of God. I write a book and then someone reads a book and then it's like they read it and apply it. No, spiritual life is personal. We are all like trying to associate with each other through this forum, but it is not a replacement for a personal guidance spiritual life. It does not need to be Diksha, it can be Siksha. ISKCON is overwhelmingly highly overemphasized and skewed to the extent that Diksha is everything. No, it's wrong. Srila Prabhupada did not guide all his disciples personally. He time and again mentioned there are seniors here. Be it temple president, because temple president is not necessarily a symptom of spiritual advancement, it's a managerial, but it is understood that a person has a certain caliber that he's playing that role. So there are spiritually advanced devotees immediately living with us. Take their guidance. You don't need to, only this person shows prema and then falls unconscious like Mukunda Datta, I'll take guidance. No, if a person is even having a little better taste in chanting, take their association. They will benefit, you will benefit. Guhyam akyati prachati shadbir bhakti prasidhyati. Our bhakti will improve when we take association in the right way. Yeah, by keeping Krishna in the center. So So we don't need to judge whose spiritual advancement is how much, but whatever is there, everyone has some interest in Krishna, some sincerity. Actually pull that sincerity out of that person, you will be nourished, they'll be nourished, both will grow. So this is the signs that Srila Rupa Goswami gives in Nectar of Instruction. Doing these activities, all our bhakti will vardhana. Govardhana means once wealth is improved. So this pastime is worshipping Govardhana hill. Our real wealth will be improved when we actually take shelter of Krishna and Krishna's devotees. So thank you for this opportunity. Any thoughts, reflections? I did not prepare, so whatever was there in my mind, it just came out. So I'm sorry if anything was inappropriate.
Thank you for a great class.
Thank you.
Actually, one of the frustrations I sometimes have with morning classes is I have so many questions that there isn't enough time to really even talk about it. But I was wondering, for example, in many religions, you have the congregation, who are part of the regular world, but they try to follow as much as possible. And then you have the priests or the clergy. Is it the same with the Krishnas, that only like you expect a few brahmacharis to really go all the way and everybody else just follows certain, basic four principles and all? That's one of the questions that I have. I guess I have many questions, but I'll just deal with one. So I want to give others a chance to talk too. So
Thank you. So if I paraphrase the question rightly, you're asking is the ultimate spiritual perfection is reserved for some renunciation order, and others kind of try to practice something in spiritual life?
yeah, because I've heard like the brahmacharis are expected.
Is the question, did I reflect your question?
And,
Okay, I got the question. Let me explain. Okay. So the idea is actually, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Prema Pumarto Mahan. We are all spirit souls. Being a brahmachari or grihastha is like an external dress. So the soul is all of us are like spirit souls. We all have the same nature and we all have the same ultimate perfection. That is our relationship with Krishna. So that needs to be awakened by everybody. That is the process that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. He said, Grihe tako vane tako sada hari bole tako. So Gare yaha sada kare Krishna kirtan, Krishna seva, Krishna naam, Krishna pujan. He said, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself personally took renounced order, and he was actually going on his way towards Vrindavan, he was redirected by Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and they all meet in a particular place called Shantipur. And when it is decided that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will live in Jagannath Puri, before leaving to Jagannath Puri, he instructs all his devotees in Navadvip. He says, Gare yaha kare sada Krishna Sankirtan. He says, you all stay at home. You don't need to come with me, give up everything and come with me to Jagannath Puri. Gare yaha sada Krishna Sankirtan. You stay here. You stay at your home, but always perform Krishna Sankirtan. Krishna Nama, Krishna Katha, Krishna Pujan means you chant Krishna's holy names. You actually do discuss about Krishna and you worship Krishna and come together. In your home, you do these things and come together and do Krishna Sankirtan, glorify Krishna in association. He says, do all this, you will achieve perfection. So Srila Prabhupada was a grihastha. He only took renunciation order later. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was a grihastha. So renunciation order or the grihastha order does not limit one from achieving their eternal connection with Krishna. Seriousness in spiritual life is not about quality. Seriousness in spiritual life is not about the quantity. It's about the quality. If a person is actually focused, they can be doing whatever they do, but still can be Krishna consciousness. That is not an alternative for an exclusive focused sadhana every day. So they can go hand in hand. Eventually, if a person really comes to an external situation where he does not need to be externally engaged so much in the world, then he has the internal taste to actually give up those things. So it's the standard thing for everybody. Prabhupada asked 16 rounds everyone. He didn't say brahmachari is 16, grihasthas 4, nothing. But everyone, that is a minimum. If you have the taste, you will find the time to chant more. So that is the purpose of life. Find opportunities to increase our taste for spiritual life, wherever we are, whatever is our life situations. I hope that was Is the other devotees want to add something? Is there a question? Let me check the chat here.
Thank you, Gaura Sharan Prabhu. Everybody says you're on fire today.
Sorry. That's why I usually prepare so that it's more, it's mild.
Hare Krishna. Gaura Sharan Prabhu explained this perfectly already. A good question. Krishna is in everyone's heart. Everyone has the potential to please Krishna. Madan Gopal gave a class the other day, and Champaklati Machi repeated yesterday. A very simple principle. If even one time we say, Lord, I'm available for you. Krishna, I'm yours. Krishna is pleased and work out the details. And then Madan Gopal, it's a pastime of Vibhishan, right? Ram and his brother was coming across to surrender to Lord Ram, and the monkeys were thinking, it's a demon, kill him. And Lord Ram said, no, his hands are folded, and he's saying, I'm yours, and therefore we will accept him. And then Madan Gopal said, and then you become fearless. No worry, no hesitate, no fear. If you say, Lord, I'm yours, even once, even casually, Krishna, I'm available for you. So that's, anybody can say that. Doesn't matter what your position in life, married person, renunciate, rich, poor, well-educated, erudite Vedic scholar, or simple cowherd girl. Say, Krishna, I'm yours. I want to please you. Such a simple life. Don't worry. You can get there. You can be there right now just by saying, Krishna, I'm available for you.
Anybody else?
Any questions, comments in our audience? I really like how Gaura Sharan Prabhu emphasized this balance that we have to try to achieve when presenting Srimad Bhagavatam. There has to be a principle, philosophy, and there has to be an application of that. Both are important, because sometimes in class there will be just application, just psychology, and there's no room for Krishna. Or sometimes there will be Leela details, and there's no connection, just disconnected between where the Leela is and where we are. And with this, I'm unleashing Krishna Daya Prabhu, our Vedic scholar, our erudite.
Thank you, Gaura Sharan Prabhu, for the wonderful class. At some point, you are referring Govardhan, the one which increases the wealth. Can you just, is it like from reference? Can you just tell us?
Krishna Daya Prabhu wants to increase his wealth. Tell him how to do it.
Go in the, I read somewhere, it is, I cannot really give the thing, but it's kind of possible to explain. Like go is also cows. In the past, wealth is also determined by how many animal cows you had, because especially for a Vaishya community, for like a cowherd community, the wealth is how many cows you have. Like Nanda Maharaj had like 900,000 cows. He is the king. So likewise, each one in the village had, because their wealth was depending upon how much cows they had, or the bulls and all those things, because that's what is their source of wealth. So in that sense, the go also represents the wealth. And then Vardhana is something which Vriddhi means, which kind of increases something. So Govardhan is also that which increases the wealth of the covered community, because it provides grass to the cows and it provides shelter to them. And in that way, it actually helps them maintain their cows, because without herding, the cows will not be able to get all the feed that they need and all the health that they can that they have to maintain. So in that sense, also the hill Govardhan also always increase the wealth of the cowards by providing all the assistance in their daily affairs. On the spiritual side, Govardhan is what actually increases the wealth of a devotee, because we as Rupanugas, we are all like trying to take shelter of Srimati Radharani and be of service to her. And in the pastimes, like be it is Sakya or Vatsalya, or be it Madhurya, they're all like Govardhan plays a role like in terms of in all those pastimes. So Krishna goes around grazing cows with the cowherd boys on Govardhan. At the same time, he engages in pastimes with the gopis in the Govardhan. So in that way, Govardhan is an important place of pastime in Krishna's everyday life. And Govardhan Leela is also very unique in terms of Krishna could accommodate all kinds of rasas in one place. He is Akhila Rasamrita Murti. He is the abode of all kinds of mellows. And Govardhan pastime is actually showing that ability of Krishna. In one place, he was interacting and satisfying and increasing the love of devotees who have different mellows towards him. And he could do all that under the shelter of Govardhan. So usually by taking shelter of Govardhan Hill, our devotion, which is the real wealth, that increases for Krishna. And our real desires, which is the desire to serve Krishna, that is our wealth. So the conditioned soul has only one thing to call this is mine. So that is actually the desire, because there is nothing else which is ours. So a devotee asked Srila Prabhupada what it takes for me to be Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said only one word answer. He said desire. So that is our real wealth, and that is increased by taking shelter of Sri Govardhan. So thank you very much, Prabhu. The Shankh is about to be sounded.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Wonderful answer.
Can you bring that tablet?
Okay, it's darshan time. Turn your cameras on if you can. Stand up if you can. Good seeing everybody. Jai Prabhupada. We see Srila Prabhupada, we see Govardhan, we see Guru Parampara. Okay. All right. Okay, it's very nice seeing everybody. Venetia, William Prabhu, Sundar Anandaji. Bhima Prabhu, are you still driving? You still driving back to Boston? No? Yeah, Bhima Prabhu drove for 22 hours back and forth. You chanted, I don't know how many rounds you chanted, Prabhu. One. Okay. All right. Hare Krishna, everybody. Wonderful class, Gaura Sharan. Thanks, everybody, for participating so actively. We see you again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.